So immediately after trying to make videos daily, I got really busy with work and a couple other things in amongst trying to buy a house, as I mentioned in one of the other ones. You can probably tell it's been busy because I haven't shaved in a few days. But I did manage to sit down last night. It was really, really warm. We've had some like ridiculously warm weather here recently. And so I couldn't sleep. So instead of sleeping, I did video game building. And I'll show you what I've been working on now. Okay, so last time I left off, I'm pretty sure I was showing you sort of bits that I was doing on the treasure map shader, I suppose is what you could call it. Essentially, it's just a reveal shader that I've been working on. So if I disable the player's movement here again, I'm sorry, like this is how I have my little scene set up so that I can do everything. I have made a bit of progress on how the shader actually renders. So if I drag it up here, you'll see that as the ship moves, it burns its way through the map like this, and you can probably tell that it's like a little bit, just the tiniest bit noisy as it goes, i.e. it's not, a completely smooth fade. It is eventually, if you leave the ship in a while in the same place for a long period of time, it will start to even its way out. But yeah, I've made a fair few changes to the way this works. So the first thing, the biggest difference actually, is that it's no longer using shader graph at all. These are test one called test. That is dreadful naming. But I've rewritten the whole thing to be written just in Unity's regular shader code because we didn't want to use the universal render pipeline because it messes with some other stuff we're trying to do. Thankfully, I had already got a dissolve shader that I had half written and half copied off a tutorial sort of a couple of years back now. I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago when I was writing my my masters. I used it for the guns in a VR game. And the logic there is pretty standard dissolve shader. It just clips how much of the texture is rendered via another texture and usually a map on that. So you can actually see that in the code here. So it's clipping based off a slice amount that uses the red component of a slice guide. So this little pattern here is the slice guide. So it says, how much red is there. If there is above the slice amount for red, then show it. So if I actually go on to, where am I? Here's the shader here. So if I up and down the slice amount, it essentially just determines how much of the how much opacity of red is actually cut off. And then the burn size here is how much of the distance between like the opacity fade is burnt with whatever color map I decide here. If we just set this to none, you'll see it's just a burn ramp for the amount of a fade between there. So if I change that, and we can change this here, they essentially work on the same property. But what generally I want is a bit less of this and a bit more of this because I want the burn ramp quite high. And then we will eventually be picking some kind of map-like material that gives us a nice effect for this. Just tune this down a bit, try and get it back to something nice. So there's still a fair bit of work to do on this in terms of how I want the final visual to look. I'm a big fan of the black burn, but also I'm a big fan of the way that these funky textures actually add these like cool little outlines. But I'm not sure it's what we want for the final version. I think we want something a bit more concrete. I've also got a little bit of trouble with rendering the default image in the background. You'll see it's basically just all based off the burn ramp where it should be using this overlay texture. I'm pretty sure the issue there is coming from the fact that I'm rendering this all onto a sprite mesh here. So like it's a UI element. So it's just an image that's set to use sprite mesh, which means that it allows the masking of the image above it. But I'm pretty sure that's why the like base texture is not rendering over the top. It might also just be that my shader code is bad. But yeah, that's what I'm looking into with that. But yeah, I think generally the thing is moving a lot better. Oh, I forgot to mention this. So this is the other bit that I added, which is if I find map generator, yeah, it's here. This noise texture here is now actually being used to generate noise onto how the mapping is drawn, and then also this noise multiplier dictates how much the noise affects the drawing. So I might not have explained that the best with words there, but I'll try and give you a look in the code after I sort of demonstrate maybe a little bit how this works. So if I bump the noise multi down a bunch, will this, I forget if low or high noise makes it more effective. Low makes it more effective. Okay, so yeah, you can see there. So if I drag the player across left here now, you can see that like the edges are slightly more and more affected by the noise. It's not exactly how I want the effect to run. I think I'm going to make some slight changes to it. What I would really like is for the burn to always go through the noise, but for like the noise to affect the speed. So like the burn is always going to burn. Let me flick my cat on here for a second. So I want the burn to always burn in a circle like this, but I would like the elements in the circle to burn through at the rate which the noise allows, if that makes sense. So if everything in your circle is what's going to always be burnt, if you've got this side of the circle as white and this side of the circle as black, then the white side will burn first and then the black side will burn after. That's the logic I'm going for with this. It's not necessarily going to work, but I think it should. And yeah, so in here, this is the shader that does the burning, so to speak. Sorry, I just did quote marks thinking you could still see me. You can't. This is the shader that does the drawing here. So what I have is I just have another noise texture that's passed down, and then I create this noise float, which is just a sample of the texture at the UV, takes the red value, and takes the red value. I was going to say, why would I take the red value? So it takes the red value because all the noise maps I'm using are simple blacks to white. So the colors are all the RGB elements should be the same amount in the scale. So I could take red, green, or blue as a single element, and that would be the value between 0 and 1 or 0 and 255 that I want. Then I times it by the noise multiplier, and then I use that noise to affect the actual color that's drawn on here. So at the moment, what it's saying is, hey, the color that you're drawing, multiply that up or down by how dark this current point on the map is. What that does mean, though, is that this map, whatever noise map I drop onto it, that's the fixed amount. So, certain areas on the map will always take longer to reveal, or will reveal slower as you burn it, because the map is fixed and you're constantly sampling the fixed point. Whereas what I would ideally like to do is say, burn these things in a noisy manner as we burn them. I'm just not entirely sure how I want to, but how I can achieve that effect yet, or if the effect is actually necessary, right? Because this is supposed to be a map that you'll hold up by pressing the tab button or whatever it is, right? So if you like, when you bring up this map, you're going to be, pausing the game more than likely, or if you're not pausing the game, at least you're not moving massively, and so you shouldn't be seeing yourself burn too much of it away. Even so, I think it would be cool to have the option for the player to be able to, you've opened the map and you're moving along slightly like this, right? Let's say this is your max speed. It would be cool, I think, to see yourself burning the map away as you go. So I'd like to account for that being something we can do, right? Yeah, that's my goal. For the moment, it might end up being the case that I leave it as is, because I think it's the core of this works, and we can start trialing it out as a mechanic before we decide fully that I want to spend more time on it, because if it turns out we don't want a map that works like this, it's a lot of work to sink into something just for experiments. And obviously it's good because I'm learning a bunch whilst doing this. It's the first real dive into shaders I've done in a long time, and I haven't really done much in the past, so I'm enjoying that. But that's where I am currently. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling about video game development for another couple of minutes. I am still trying to keep these daily. I'm about to go for a run now, though, and then we've got to sort out the flat because we're going down to my parents tomorrow and picking up my dog, which we're going to have here for 2 weeks while they go on holiday. So that's cool. You'll see my dog. He's probably been on YouTube videos in the past before, but he's a good boy. He's going to sit right here while I work during the day, which is good because I'm going to be able to do work and then pat him on the head, and it's going to make my work day 1,000 times better. Really looking forward to that. And I should also mention, it's I've never known how to say it. I think it's Mrs. Anyway, the YouTuber Mrs. He's become one of my favorite YouTubers actually in recent time. He makes really, really, really concise videos, which is something I absolutely can't do. and I've just accepted I can't do, and now no longer attempt to do, I make rambly videos. That's how it works. But his content is something I absolutely love. He makes these really, really concise videos that, hone in on a singular point or a couple of points incredibly well. And his tutorials and demonstrations get stuff across brilliantly. I'm a huge fan of the stuff that he's been producing recently. So he's recently had quite a bit of success on YouTube, and he's hosting a game jam that's based off of these videos he makes called Four Game Developers Jam on the Same Art Kit. So it's had people like Stuffed Wombat and other fairly notable Twitter notable indie devs is how I would describe them. The big Twitter community that I follow and would love to be a part of, sort of thing. Like all the people you idolize who make the cool prototypes. A lot of them build these games in 48 hours, using this one art kit. And he's opening up a jam like that for everyone to contribute to, which I think is a really cool idea, because I love the idea of a single art kit for the jam. I'm not an artist at all, so when I build jam games, right, like even Lazy Pirates, pretty much all the assets were ripped, right? So giving a focused art kit would let me sort of push just about all of my creative potential into it, because all my creative potential is going to be in what I can build with the art using funky code stuff and things I know how to do like that. So I'm really looking forward to taking part in that. And the key thing is that it's 48 hours over 1 week. So if I bang the desk, the camera shakes. That's really bad. I love how I'm like, oh, this is really bad. Let me demonstrate it to you. So yeah, it's 48 hours over 1 week, which means I can actually do it because I'm away this weekend, obviously, and then I'll be working all next week. But hopefully next week you'll be seeing me make progress on that steadily throughout the week, and then I might do a summary video on the Sunday or so whenever I submit it. But yeah, that's my current plans. Hopefully you'll see me making videos about that. I might make a small one tomorrow night, talking about the themes or the art kit that's available, and I haven't actually checked to see if there is a theme, but yeah, I'll keep you informed. And also, if you do game development and you want to jam, I definitely recommend it. Sounds like it's going to be a fun time. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.